Today on Sportsource, we've got the tail end of basketball season with women's hoops at the center of it all. Two Athens area teams are tipping off the Classic City matchup, and another is aiming to make school history. Parents, you might not want to hear this one, but the pandemic has high school athletes going through a new wave of recruiting, one that focuses on their social media presence. We'll cover all of that and more tonight on Sportsource.
This is Northeast Georgia's only local source for high school sports. From the Grady College at the University of Georgia, this is Grady Sports Source.
Welcome to Sports Source, everyone. I'm your host, Taylor Vismore, and we are hitting the ground, or should I say the court, running in this edition of our show. High school basketball is quickly coming to a close in the Athens area, and we've got an inside look at a great Athens Academy team. Plus, we're going 84 feet with Oconee County High School's guard, Zach Exley. Speaking of Oconee, the Warriors saw their win streak come crumbling down earlier this week. Is the team going cold right before playoffs? And what about the other Athens area schools? I'm joined now by analysts Ryan Curley and Burke Lyle. Hello to you both, to talk about which teams are getting hot and which teams are staying cold. Ryan, Burke, thank you guys for being here. Let's jump right in and start our conversation off with Prince Avenue Christian.
Taylor, this Prince Avenue girls team has been pretty inconsistent this season. The Lady Warriors are currently second in the region at 3-2. Now, if they want to slide into that first spot, they need to rely on their star senior, Noel Hines. Hines is a consistent double-digit scorer.
Yeah, Prince Avenue is playing back-to-back games this weekend. Loganville Christian tonight and Commerce on Saturday. This is going to help them prepare for their region rival, Athens Academy, who they play on Tuesday. Not to mention, they've already defeated them for the first time in 3 years, just 2 weeks ago. So, Burke, tell me, where do the Wolverines land on the hot and cold spectrum?
Well, Taylor, they aren't really hot and they aren't really cold. It seems like they have a pattern of losing a couple games, then winning a couple games. So Prince Avenue girls team gets a medium member with a chance to move into the hot range, especially if they beat Athens Academy for the second time this season.
All right, so we have a medium Wolverine team on the girls' side. The boys' team has to be a little more warm with a 6'5" forward, Robert Skaggs, and his 13 points per game. Ryan, what do you think?
Skaggs is an excellent player, Taylor, but just because they have a star, it doesn't mean that they've had a great season to this point. Despite snapping a 4-game losing streak on Tuesday when they beat Athens Christian, Prince Avenue still earns a cold meter from us. With 3 region matchups remain, and the Wolverines can really change the narrative if they can grab a couple of those wins.
Yeah, these outcomes will be a huge decider for their seed and the region tournament that's coming up. Moving right along, though, to Athens Christian, Burke, what is this team shaping up to be with 3 of its 4 losses in region play?
The Eagles are sitting at a 2-game losing streak going into the weekend. In order to turn things around, they need to rely on Hampton Ford, who was described by Coach Strong as a floor general. He averages close to double figures. They also need Drew Beadle, a 3-point shooter who averages 12 points per game.
Burke, you mentioned earlier that the team is on a losing streak. So what do they need to do to try to break that?
The defense has been the biggest strength for the team. The Eagles are first in total points allowed in region play, according to Max Preps. A tough matchup with George Walton comes tonight. The Eagles do have 11 wins overall, but despite their record, they are cold.
That game will be at Athens Christian tonight. Tip-off is at 7:30. Ryan, what do you have about the Athens Christian women's team?
Unfortunately, Athens Christian School encountered a very difficult situation when they were preparing for this season. They didn't have enough girls to field a varsity roster. I know it's a little harsh, Taylor, but by default, the Eagles are ice cold when it comes to the girls' team.
Yeah, I know head coach Jeff Vaughn plans to have a varsity team ready next season, so we'll keep an eye out on that. But there is one private school we haven't touched on yet. Burke, what do you think about this boys' Athens Academy team?
Well, Taylor, the boys' team is 5-13 on the season, and they've lost the last 2 region matchups. They need some magic from their sophomore star, Camille Williams. He has recorded 2 triple-doubles this season. This is an extremely impressive feat that does not happen at the high school level very often.
Yeah, and not to mention senior John Hayes has had 9 double-doubles so far this season. So what do you think about this team and their big stars?
Despite these big names and big numbers, the Spartans are cold.
All right, another team that is cold. I'm starting to think it's next to impossible to get a team to be hot. But Ryan, what do you think about this 13-7 Athens Academy girls team?
I've got to tell you, Taylor, defense is the strength of this team, and their senior point guard is the star of the show. Jayla Sally Barnett is averaging about 15 points, and speaking of defense, 5 steals per game. I had to do a double take when I saw that number for the first time.
Yeah, that's a crazy number, and not even to mention she just hit her 1,000 career point. Sally Barnett gets it done on both ends of the floor. So Ryan, come on, there is just no way that this team can be cold.
This is the first team today that earns the hot meter from us. The Spartans have won 6 of their last 8 games, and moving up to first in the region is not out of the question yet.
It's easy to see that there is something special about these girls at Athens Academy, and it's not just being the only hot meter team so far today. This team has been taking their season in stride, and with an older team, they're using their veteran knowledge to their advantage. Sarah Detweiler has more on this Athens Academy team. Sarah?
Hi, Taylor. I'm here at the Sinkwich Spartan Center, which has seen a lot of intense practices these days. With the end of basketball season in sight, the girls at Athens Academy still have some unfinished business, making school history. The Athens Academy girls basketball team won its first regional title in 20 years last February. Then their 2020-21 season abruptly ended in the first round of the state tournament. Now, the Spartans are eager to prove last year's success was not a fluke.
So winning that was like a huge deal. It was talked about at school. Everyone was congratulating us. So I think we were like coming off that win and then hoping with that would go super far in states.
Even though the Spartans have lost more games this season compared to last, Reynolds sees this obstacle more as a motivational factor to keep them focused on their end goal.
We've had some tough losses recently in our region, and not having those losses last year, but now losing those games this year kind of like it was like a reality check for us that how bad other teams won it against us, which I think just kind of like fuels our fire even more.
The Spartans are number 2 in their region with 3 regular season games remaining. Their journey to this success has been an uphill battle. In the 3 seasons prior to Brian Olson taking over in 2014, the Spartans had losing records. Olson succeeded current athletic director Kevin Petrosky.
He's really worked at developing a program and not just working with the kids that are on the varsity team. So he's been very involved with our youth programs as well as our middle school and JV teams, and trying to share a vision with all of those coaches and athletes and getting them involved, which has been great for the success.
This varsity team had Father Time on its side this season. Only 1 senior graduated after last season, bringing back 4 Spartans who are now seniors this year. They account for nearly half of the team's scoring. In the past 5 years, Athens Academy is 9-3 against crosstown and regional rival Prince Avenue Christian, the current number 1 seed in their region.
By now they've gone through a little everything, so they know how to react, they know what to do. You don't have to coach as hard, so they're just playing instead of trying to think so much. So there's no substitute for experience.
While this group is veteran in experience, the senior leaders have asked for everyone's help because their voices alone are not going to equal success.
We've gone to a little bit of a different model this year where it's not as much about the individual captains, but more about the collective voice. Because I think that if young ladies feel like they have a voice, no matter where they are on the team, then they're going to feel like it's their team as well.
These Spartans could be the first girls basketball team at Athens Academy to win back-to-back regional titles, something that Sally Barnett hopes to accomplish in her senior year.
Just to have a repeat is like something that has never been done in school history, and to do that and then know you had a part in doing that, it would honestly mean so much.
Sarah Detweiler, Carmical Sports Media Institute at UGA.
Athens Academy hoping to see back-to-back region titles. But there are more teams in the Athens area that we still need to talk about. Ryan and Burke are back with more thermometers to see if Oconee and North Oconee are hot or cold. Ryan, Burke, let's talk about Oconee for just a second. The Warriors saw their 10-game win streak come crumbling down earlier this week. So, guys, you tell me, is this team getting cold right before the playoffs?
The Warriors have lost their last 2 games, but I wouldn't go as far to say they are cold. They're sitting at 2nd in the region. It will be a challenge to catch Hart County, which not only snapped Oconee's win streak, but is also in first place in the region.
Yeah, that's a big team to catch up to. Burke, what do you think this Warriors team will need to do to stay at 2nd or even get back to being first in the region?
The biggest strength for this team is their three-point shooting. The Warriors hit around 10 threes a game. So the key to winning for the Warriors is hitting the three-point shot, and the performance of Zach Exley, who's averaging 21 points per game, not to mention his younger brother Trevor, who's putting up 14 points per contest. The Warriors are hot. We're hot, but now I would say they're medium.
Those Exleys are owning the court for the Warriors, and they're going to try to snap that losing streak tonight against Jackson County. So far, the Oconee County girls have a 4-game win streak right now, and seems like they're a pretty hot team.
They're in a close three-way tie for first place with Hart County and East Jackson. They have just one loss in the region. To stay on top, they'll need some stamina. They play against 16-2 East Jackson tonight. Will be their third game in 5 days.
Burke, this is obviously a huge game in the region. So what would you say is Oconee's edge?
The team is going to need to lean on their 6-foot center, Caroline Davis, who is leading the team with 11 points per game and 30 blocks. I agree with you, Taylor. This girls' team is hot right now.
All right, moving down Highway 53, let's talk about the North Oconee Titans. Ryan, how do you feel about the girls' team, which is tied for second place in the region right now?
Yeah, well, they may be in second place right now, but placing first in the region is not out of the question quite yet. But this is another team that's been a little inconsistent this year. Again, not hot, not cold. The Titans are medium, lukewarm, if you will.
Medium isn't terrible, but what should they be doing to get hot now at the end of the season?
How can they change their status? Experience. All sorts of sports teams need to rely on their experience. Their senior guard, Callie Jackson, is going to be playing college basketball at Berry College next season. She has been around the block. Experience matters in big games.
Yeah, experience does matter, and that's why the North Oconee boys team is looking at their senior forward, who they call the Beast. Ryan, what can you tell us about the Beast and this team?
Well, Brody Scott, their senior forward, has led them to 14 wins so far this season. He even broke a school record with 22 rebounds in their loss to Flowery Branch earlier this season. This is a team with a ton of talent, and they're coming off a big region win that they won at the last second against Cedar Shoals on Tuesday. Tonight, the Titans have a chance to avenge their loss against Flowery Branch. Regardless of what happens, this North Oconee team is hot.
These Oconee County teams look like they're going to be hard to beat here at the end of the season. Lots of good players, including one with a really difficult name to pronounce. Our Ben McKettrick asked Oconee County guard Zach Exley about that when he went 84 feet with him earlier this week.
This is 84 feet with Oconee County, Zach Exley. All right, Zach, what's the worst pronunciation of your last name you've ever gotten?
Ochezel.
Ochezel. What's your GPA?
I have a 4.0.
Okay, earlier this month you hit your 1,000th point for the program. What was that like?
It was awesome. I was able to fulfill a lifelong dream of mine.
Okay, and your little brother Trevor also plays on the team. In the game to 15, 1v1, who's winning?
Early on I would win, but now it's more 50-50.
Yeah, and now we're going to head into a little fast break mode. I'm just going to ask you quick questions, and you're going to give me one word answer. Zoom or in-person class?
In person.
LeBron or Jordan?
Jordan.
Okay. Favorite school to play against?
Probably North Oconee, the rivalry.
Okay, and then favorite school subject?
Math.
Okay, so good at math. How many inches are in 84 feet?
84 feet. Ooh. I have no clue.
All right, 84 feet, 1,008 inches.
1,008 inches. I'm with Exley. I could not do that math in my head either. Thank you, Ben, for that inside scoop on Exley. We still have Ryan Curley and Burke Lyle here for one last round of Hot and Cold. There are two schools we haven't touched on yet, and that's Clark Central and Cedar Shoals. With the Clark Central girls team at 4th place in the region and back-to-back games tonight and tomorrow, what are you thinking, Burke?
Yes, Taylor, it is make it or break it time for this team. Tonight, the Gladiators play against 2nd place Loganville, and tomorrow they play against a non-region game at home against crosstown rival Cedar Shoals.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that rivalry here in just a minute. But, Burke, I want to hear your thoughts on this Clark Central team. Are they hot or cold?
Based on their 6-11 record and their place in the standings, I would say this is a medium team.
All right, moving right along to Clark Central boys team. This team has had a harder time finding their stride this season and is going into tonight's game against Loganville at 9-9, right, Ryan?
Well, 9-9, it doesn't really get much more average or mediocre than that. Being a 500 team, and they've fared well in region play, I will say that, with a 6-3 record in those games, so they've done well on that side of the ball. The Gladiators have something that a lot of basketball teams are desperate for: size. Junior forward Tyson Jones is 6'8", and he scores and rebounds at a high level. When you have a player with that stature, you immediately have an advantage. But size or no size, The Gladiators get a ranking of medium-level heat from us. They've been back and forth all year. They haven't been able to hit their stride.
All right, so both of these Clark Central teams are going to need to heat up as the region tournament is quickly approaching here. But let's get to the last school of this segment, Cedar Shoals. You guys, let's talk about the boys team first. This team has had a lot of success the last few years, but this year has not been as successful for the Jaguars. What's going on?
They have a record of 7-12, and they're 6th in their region. They lost by 2 points on a buzzer beater to North Oconee on Tuesday.
Yeah, that was a huge missed opportunity for the Jaguars to heat up before the postseason begins, but this has been a tough year for this team, even with their big performers. Burke, who are the guys to look out for on this Jaguar team?
On January 22nd, Eli Curley dropped 31 points and 12 rebounds in an overtime win over Denmark. Jock Colbert scored 28 points in the same game. Tonight, they play 17-3 Madison County, and tomorrow afternoon is a big rivalry game at Clark Central. Will the next 2 games be the start of a turnaround, or do they stay cold? The Jaguars are cold for now.
What about their girls team as they prepare for their game tonight against Madison County? Ryan?
Well, Taylor, they have a 12-6 record, but they just dropped 2 region games in a row, and last week was just not pretty for them, especially that first loss against Jefferson. They were blown out 61-30. They followed that up with another double-digit loss, that time to North Oconee. Tonight, they have a region matchup with a very beatable Madison County team. Let's see if they can get back on track, but for now, the Cedar Shoals girls team is cold.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, there's a must-see matchup of the week, and you're not going to want to miss this one. Plus, we go box to box with the state champion from North Oconee, and later, a look at how college recruitment has changed, all coming up on Sportsource.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding. Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Woohoo! Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Welcome back to Sportsource. There's a lot happening in the Athens area this week, and lots of high school basketball too. But there's one game in particular that you are not going to want to miss. This is a crosstown rivalry, and it carries a lot of bragging rights. I'm joined by Matthew Brown to talk about this matchup of the week.
Thank you, Taylor. Now, Athens community is in for a good one tomorrow. The Clark Central girls will host Cedar Shoals in a basketball showdown at 2 p.m.
Yeah, this matchup is a little bit different than most, starting with the fact that these two schools are in 2 different regions. Clark Central is in Region 8-5A, while Cedar Shoals is in Region 8-4A. Both these teams are ranked 4th in the region, and they have the same region record, which is 5-4. But here's the catch. Cedar Shoals has already beaten every single 5A team that they have played so far this season, including Clark Central, 59-37 earlier this season. So Matthew, let me know, what's so great about this non-region matchup anyway?
So you're exactly right, Taylor. It's not a region game. This is a competition for bragging rights. It's not just another rival game. It's the Classic City Championship, a game that really determines who runs this county. Cedar Shoals assistant coach, Allie House, says it truly feels like the entire city of Athens is inside that gym, and it is something that you can feel. And with that type of factor, the outcome of the game can swing either way when the whole community comes out to support its favorite team. But the competition has been close for nearly 15 years. Cedar Shoals leads the record series 15-13 over Clark Central. And both coaches emphasize that a win tomorrow will be some serious momentum going into the remainder of the season.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Matthew, but when I was in high school and we had a rivalry game, there was something special about it. And it was felt different. Nothing else about the season seemed to really matter except for that game. But the season does matter, even if it's not a region matchup. So what can you tell us about these team seasons so far?
So now, Clark Central is 6-11 on the year, but don't get hung up on those numbers. Head coach Carla Johnson says the team has been working hard every day to improve, and her girls have faced some good competition on their schedule thus far. But with each of those losses comes lessons that a team can learn from, and experience can be one of the best teachers you can have as you get ready for postseason play. Cedar Shoals, on the other hand, kickstarted their season with a 6-game winning streak, and their current record is 12-6. Assistant coach Allie Howell says the vision is clear with these girls. The Lady Jaguars are working hard to make it back to where they picked off last year, and that's the Final Four.
Right, and we can't talk about either of these teams without talking about each other. As I mentioned before, Cedar Shoals defeated Clark Central 59-37 earlier this season. So talk to me, Matthew, what happened in that last game?
So in that last meeting, when Cedar Shoals hosted Clark Central, the Lady Jags played some tough defense, forcing the Lady Gladiators into a lot of miscues. Clark Central struggled to protect the ball, and they saw turnover after turnover when running into that Jaguar defense. Coach Johnson even said Cedar's home crowd played a huge factor, making a lot of noise and disrupting her team's composure and focus. By the time the buzzer sounded, Cedar Shoals walked off the court with a 21-point victory.
Yeah, and that's a huge win for Cedar Shoals. And as of right now, the Lady Jaguars run Clark County. Cedar Shoals have some dominant girls on their side to get a repeat win, while Clark Central is looking to square things out tomorrow night. What are these two teams going to need to do to get this win over one another?
See, you should expect Cedar Shoals to turn up that defensive pressure again to force the Gladiators into making mistakes. Coach Howell said the team will also need to be prepared for any surprises that can be thrown their way. The Lady Jags must be ready for different defensive sets when they're looking to try to contain Ashley Lester and Deshauna Foote. Now, in this go-round, Clark Central will have home court advantage, but they will need more than that to win this game. The Lady Gladiators will need to take care of the ball, identify shooters early, and be confident and composed on offense, not letting that Jaguar defense rattle them.
I'm so glad you brought up Lester and Foote. These two key players for Cedar Shoals, and they're making sure they stay open, it's key for the Jaguars to have a good game. But what about Clark? Who should we be watching tomorrow night?
Now that is a tough question. Coach Johnson said the biggest weakness of this year's Clark Central team is lack of depth. So expect the Lady Glass to share the ball when it comes to scoring, but some players to watch will be senior shooting guard Micaiah Pittard and junior small forward Ayanna London. Now Taylor, Clark Central will be without one of their best ball handlers, Autumn Wallace, who suffered an injury last December. But this team will be up for a challenge trying to get through that Jaguar defense, but look to senior point guard Zamaya Sims to help carry the team. As for Cedar Shoals, expect junior point guard Ashley Lester and senior shooting guard Deshauna Foote to be crucial playmakers for making shots for the Lady Jags. And beneath the baskets, look for Chad Lunsford to battle for all the loose rebounds. But the shining star of this team is Deshauna Foote, and she is also the team's assist leader. Coach Howell even said Foote is one of the most insane passers that she's ever seen play. So look and expect for her to make an impact.
Well, whichever team you cheer for, this is going to be a good game that you don't want to miss. But while this year's basketball season is winding down, soccer and other spring sports are starting back up. Matthew Davis went box to box earlier this week with a state champion.
Hello, I'm Matthew Davis here at North Oconee, and we are here with Kenna Kay, and this is Box to Box. So Kenna, how does it feel to be a state champion?
It's honestly incredible, and it's so hard to believe that we're state champions.
Yeah, what's your favorite goal that you've scored throughout your career?
Probably my sophomore year, I was running down the right wing of the field, and I bent it into the left upper 90.
Messi or Ronaldo?
Ronaldo.
Why?
Because everybody always picks Messi, and I think Ronaldo deserves some respect.
Oh, okay. Prediction, how many goals do you think you're going to score this year?
Hopefully somewhere in the 30s to 40s.
Yeah. In a penalty shootout, who wins? Boys team or girls team?
Girls team all the way.
In 10 penalties, how many do you think you score?
Hopefully like 8, maybe.
Okay. And how many keepy-ups do you think you can do at once?
Probably somewhere around 300.
Well then, go ahead, try it. This has been Box to Box with Kenna Kay.
Kay and the rest of the North Oconee Titans soccer team are gearing up to defend their state title, and it should be a great season. Now, most of these athletes that we've touched on today are either committed or they're adding up offers left and right. But how has the recruitment process changed? Find out when we come back.
He knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right because a few hours ago in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign, not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
There is a road laid out for me.
First night here, but Amy seems cool.
Leading down to the river. I am blind, but I need not see.
What do you think?
I know this road is there for me. If I'm really free, take me down to the river and
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible. She must be a keeper.
Welcome back. National Signing Day is right around the corner, and coming up on Wednesday, many star players will be signing. But for some athletes, the process to get to this moment has been a sign of the times. Catherine Lewis has more on that story.
College coaches once filled these stands, hoping to find their next star athlete to recruit to their school. Since March 2020, COVID has forced them to take to social media for recruitment. As social media grew as a way for student athletes to promote themselves, Athens local high schools had to learn to represent their athletes as well.
Fast forward to the last couple of years with COVID, social media became a tool for schools to be able to kind of promote what they're about.
With National Signing Day approaching on February 2nd, Oconee County High School has used its social media accounts to show off its athletes looking to finalize a college commitment. Eric Kriebel, Oconee County's special teams coordinator, said college football coaches have reached out to him in hopes of finding their next star player.
I've literally seen college coaches say, hey, I'm looking for this position, this GPA, this SAT, and these other things. Tweet me your highlight link.
Kevin Petrosky, Athens Academy's athletic director, said his athletes have learned to market themselves online.
We've always been pretty heavily involved with social media. When COVID hit was when the recruiting side of it changed a little bit. Students realized they needed to be promoting themselves more so than maybe in the past.
In August 2018, Athens Academy put Caleb Booz in charge of social media content creation. He says the social media accounts are creating opportunities for Athens Academy athletes.
Nowadays, more kids are getting opportunities because of social media, in my opinion. 10 years ago, if a coach didn't see you play, then that was about it. But now, they don't even have to come see you in person until they want to visit with you.
There are a wealth of college football programs that can't get here. And it is a way for us to get our kids in front of another coach.
Athens Academy created the Twitter accounts at Spartan Athletic in June 2011 and at ACAD Recruiting in June 2021.
We want to put out there when we're competing. We want to promote the success of a student athlete in a competition. So we've seen, an increase in the number of college coaches or colleges, their social media following us.
Oconee County also has a specific Twitter account at OC Recruits to promote its football players. Students in the school's marketing classes run the account. Giovanni Newsom, a football player at Athens Academy, says the team's recruiting feed drives more traffic to his social media accounts.
I feel like them being active can also help us lead to more people being able to reach our accounts, because when they retweet like our photos, our pictures, our like videos, it'll also get to their followers.
Social media's role in student athletes recruitment is likely here to stay, even after the pandemic.
I think it's just always going to be there now.
Catherine Lewis, Carmical Sports Media Institute at UGA.
Some big changes happening in college recruitment and a lot of big matchups to look forward to this weekend. Spring sports are starting back up, and we'll be your guide through all the sports at all the Athens area schools. As for now, that's all we have for you guys tonight. For my analysts Ryan Curley, Burke Lyle, and Matthew Brown, our features reporters, and all our teammates behind the cameras, thank you for watching Sportsource.
Grady News Source is a student production of the Grady College of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of Georgia, which is solely responsible for its contents. Views expressed do not represent those of the administration nor the Board of Regents at the University System of Georgia.